Greetings everybody, my name is Pieta Valentine and I have written 2 books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit. One being The Resident's Rise being the sequel to The Resident's Voice. Now, the topic of today's video is what? I don't have dementia. A common theme both for the person themselves and what? Mum doesn't have dementia in terms of relatives. Now this creates a whole raft of problems and I'm going to try and address these one by one as we go through the video. So firstly, the person living on their own outside a dementia unit, denying that they have dementia. Now it is difficult, of course, if someone's got dementia and they're living on their own, much more difficult than if they're living with someone that can help them. But if early stages, if, for example, they forget their keys, but they have another key, under the mat and another key somewhere else, they can still drive the car, get in the house. It doesn't really affect day-to-day living. If they go grocery shopping and they forget some of the items, they can go again the next day. So if they can still function and manage at home with activities of daily living and they're not, there's no risk factors there over and above the normal risk factors of life, which are many, by the way, but she's managing okay, your mother, father managing okay, getting by, maybe got supportive neighbours right and left, big help, relatives nearby, checking in maybe once a day, every second day, good. She can cook. She at least remembers to turn the stove off, or maybe the daughter or one of you have said to her, look mum, when you cook your meals you have to sit in the kitchen and not leave it and read a book or something and watch TV, because then she might forget that whatever it is still on the stove. So that's maybe a good way of going about safety in the kitchen. Just sit there until you've cooked everything, or stand there, whatever you have to do. So what are the other things about living alone? Probably flames, stove, setting the house on fire, all a big risk. We don't want that. And having a bath and forgetting about the tap being on and the whole place being flooded, 2 common things. So when it gets to that point, of course, you need to take your mother to the doctor and get diagnosed. Now, it's a different scenario with the person living on their own. There's a lot more measures in place, of course, to help them, isn't there? Because the other person's overseeing. Mind you, they can get exhausted in the process, so that's not so good, and that has to really be taken into account. But generally, if the person is living with someone, it's the escaping out the window or escaping out the door when the person's, maybe in the bathroom or something, wandering off to the highway, getting lost and being picked up by the police. That's a very common thing for people that are living with someone, and to, initiate the path to going to the doctor and getting a diagnosis. Now, one really big thing within families that people have actually been telling me, just today I was speaking to a nurse about this in a practice, and she was saying, look, the big issue is that in a family, okay, so you've got your in-laws, your children, however many in a family, an extended family, 10, 20, whatever, and these days, of course, everyone's living in different parts of the world, aren't they, a lot of the time, and so, you're trying to deal with practical issues, continents away. So one big issue is that when, for example, mum gets dementia, maybe vascular and Alzheimer's dementia, both very common. Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia, but vascular dementia second too. So mum's got dementia, she's in her late 80s. Now what happens often is that if someone has a medical understanding of dementia, which of course many do, and of course people in the any medical establishment will have a good understanding of dementia. So if it's like you've got a nurse in the family and she's well aware of all the issues, but there's other people in the family who, I don't know, maybe they're mechanics or, builders or any other thing, painters, that goes on. they're not going to know much about dementia, so unless they've read up about it specifically. So often what happens is that the non-medical people in the family will say to the medical person in the family, oh, don't worry about it, mum's all right, it's just old age, she hasn't got dementia. But of course, the person that's got a medical background will be saying, well, actually, it is a problem, she's not always remembering to turn the stove off, and, she is getting lost going to the sisters to see her for afternoon tea and not remembering how to get back when she goes there every day practically. So people that aren't in the industry don't sometimes pick up the red flags. Now, this is really difficult because when the say the nurse, when the nurse is trying to explain to the other sister or brother about the problem, that, oh, don't harp on, everything's all right, you're making a big deal of it. It's actually very stressful for the medical person trying to explain. This can go on for years, if mum's, slow onset, dementia's always slow onset. So this can be really stressful to the medical person. By the way, already flat out wherever they are, there's never enough doctors and nurses anywhere now, especially ex-COVID, and half of them are exhausted. So it just adds another layer of stress and pressure. So what I say to this is, look, really, if your mother has dementia, it is your personal responsibility. Whether you're power of attorney, whatever role you have in the family, it is your personal responsibility to read up about it and at least understand it to at least a low level, let alone no level. Low level of understanding of dementia. Moderate is best. Spend some time reading about it. There's lots of good material on the web, about dementia that you can learn about it, so that when your medical, sibling comes to you to talk about it, at least you're informed and you can ask questions rather than dismissing them. That's probably one of the best things you can do. So that if all the family's on the same page with it, well, they'll never probably be on the same page, similar page, then you can sort of quietly work with mum and, etc. Another thing, it's not easy to get into doctors and to see doctors about dementia. A lot of the time, by the way, it's a really time-consuming condition with so many complex factors. How much time has the doctor got in a 15-minute appointment to work out whether someone has dementia or not? Honestly, it's difficult enough dealing with COVID and every other condition on the planet without dementia in the mix. So it takes time. You'll need an extended appointment for sure, at least half an hour with the doctor for dementia, for them to put things in place for assessing for dementia. So that's just one. Now the other aspect is, if the person is diagnosed with dementia, there's a whole range of tests. It's not just one thing, whole range of tests. And your input, the relatives' input will come into it as well, especially in terms of functionality with activities of daily living and cognitive and capacity, physical capacity, emotional, etc. Okay, so when and if the person's diagnosed with dementia, and by the way, don't let the stigma and prejudice get to you about this condition. It's just another condition. It's memory loss, it's there is a big, it's lessening a lot, thankfully. The stigma of dementia is lessening, the prejudice is lessening as education is increasing in society. So, but still stigma and prejudice is there. So the best thing to do about stigma and prejudice is not to let it affect you, but get on with the job at hand, because that's the best thing you can. Water off a duck's back, we just have to let all that stigma and prejudice go. It does cause a problem for the person that has dementia. Confidence levels drop hugely with people that have dementia, and we'll deal a lot with that in future videos about how you can help that. But back to the topic of the person having, whether the person has dementia. Okay, so they've managed to get an appointment at the doctor, they've been to the specialist. Yes, they have got dementia. Now, what to do about that? They're at home, either the husband or the wife is caring for the partner with dementia. They're exhausted, shattered, almost not managing themselves. They need care. And then where to from there? It's so difficult to get people into dementia units. And I know in some countries there aren't even many facilities for people in dementia units, but for those countries that do have facilities, there's huge waiting lists. So that's, especially for good, suitable places, So that's why one has to sort of go along this path when the signs start, rather than having a big emergency. Well, oh, okay, the painter, the brother says, oh, yes, dementia, all right, I can see that. Well, yeah, fine. But, if we dealt with it a year or two ago, maybe we could have got the diagnosis earlier and she could have gone into a decent place. Now we're left at home having to deal with mum who's really off the planet. And it's really stressful for everybody. So that's why education is really important. Now, the other thing is, in terms of I don't have it scenario, it's easy for people to get confused on this, because dementia is a wavering condition. I mean, sometimes the person's fine. You can speak to them, their present memory's good, their past memory's good, they can manage everything at home. The next time they're absolutely off the wall. So either with, generally the two aspects are total blank, where they don't remember anything, don't know anything, forget everything. It's really shocking for the person, that experience. As shocking is when the mind starts spinning out of control and they just can't get control of it. So these are two aspects of dementia that come and go at different times. And of course it creates massive problems, either of them, but it's not there all the time. So that's why people that haven't got an understanding or background in it tend to think, oh, mum's all right because blah, blah, blah. But actually, there's other times when she's spinning out. So that's why it needs to be catered to, because if you're living on your own and you have a total blank or you're completely confused, I mean, so many things can go wrong. So I think, it's just time of mum. And probably everyone when you think about it, everyone in the community is going to be affected with dementia in some way, shape or form. So it's good for everyone to have a bit of understanding of it, chat about it, learn about it, think about it, whatever about it. Rather than this sort of not elephant under the carpet, this pushing it away under the carpet. People put things under the carpet and then they don't deal with it. Elephant in the room, that's it. Okay, elephant in the room. No, an elephant's really big. How can an elephant be in a room? I'm very sorry. Whatever that expression is. There's another one. Okay, so you hide it away and you shove it away and you don't take any notice of it. And then what happens? Hair on the camel's back, crash, everything starts collapsing. That's why you just have to step by step, learn about it, get educated, discuss it. Easier said than done. No, it's difficult. Everyone's got so much going on in their lives. But the thing is, dementia is a reality. It's a reality that will hit most families in one way, shape or form. And so that's why we have to learn about it and become. And actually, look, honestly, once you actually get involved with dementia, look, it's not all tragedy, really. People with dementia have wonderful personalities, fabulous characters. Even if they're in dementia units, the carers are lovely and caring, and the community develops when there's positive interaction and resources given to these people to learn to think and understand and reason and progress forward. So it's actually a really positive, progressive experience often for many people. If you look at the positive, progressive side of it, I mean, I love working with dementia residents, and I still do, and I like writing about it and thinking about it, reading about it. And so, in a sense, you've got to, no, you don't have to do anything, but if you take an interest in the condition, you will find that there'll be so many spin-offs that you will learn and become educated about yourself, not just about the condition itself, but all the emotional, physical aspects to it, mental aspects. There's so much that will have spin-off positive effects on your other life, the rest of your life, just through the pure process of learning about it. So that's all. Well, that's a lot actually. 14 minutes I'm seeing here. Goodness me, 14 minutes. Can you imagine, just on I don't have dementia? Yes, because it is a big topic. Oh, did I tell you that even in a dementia unit, people say, "Oh, me, I don't have dementia," when they're not going through the spin or the blank. So I mean, it's an ongoing thing. But of course, when they're in the dementia unit, that's okay, isn't it? They're safe. I mean, cares are done for them, meals are cooked for them. It doesn't matter whether they think they have it or not. I mean, they're there. So there's no repercussions for the family, which of course is a massive relief for the family when they're having to deal with mum, you know, in house, especially on her own, dealing with dementia. It's, you know, it's very worrying, very extremely worrying and stressful. So that's why we have to get everything in place so that things can be as manageable as practically possible for whatever scenario, saving one's, or not saving, containing one's time and energy as best as one can, so that one can get through all the many, many phases, steps and scenarios that one has to go through to be able to help someone who has dementia. Okay, thank you for watching this. I really appreciate, you know, your support and your viewing. Till the next, thank you.